We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next hour. Union Cabinet condemns the Delhi blast as a heinous terror act. The centre directs a swift probe into the incident. On the final day of Botswana visit, President Murmu to witness symbolic handover as Botswana gifts India 8 cheetahs. US House approves the spending bill 222 to 209 to end the shutdown. 6 Democrats support measure as President Trump set to sign. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar says international cooperation vital for rare minerals. India ready to work constructively with global partners. And on to the details now. A major revelation has emerged in the Delhi car blast case. On Monday evening near the Red Fort in Chandni Chowk, the terrorist identified as Dr. Umar was inside the explosive-laden car and detonated it himself. DNA tests have confirmed his identity, proving that Umar deliberately carried out the suicide blast. This confirmation establishes that the explosion was a planned act of terrorism executed by the attacker himself. And the Union Cabinet, chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, has expressed its profound grief over the loss of lives in the terrorist incident involving a car explosion near the Red Fort in Delhi on Monday. Well, the Cabinet also observed 2 minutes of silence in honour of the innocent lives lost. The Cabinet also recorded its appreciation for the statements of solidarity and support from many governments around the world.
The country has witnessed a heinous terror incident perpetrated by anti-national forces through a car explosion near the Red Fort on the evening of 10th November 2025. The explosion resulted in multiple fatalities and caused injuries to several others. The Cabinet pays its respects to the victims of this senseless act of violence and conveys its heartfelt condolences to the bereaved families. The Cabinet prays for the speedy recovery of all those injured and appreciates the prompt efforts of the medical personnel and emergency responders who have been providing care and support to the victims. The Cabinet unequivocally condemns this dastardly and cowardly act that has led to the loss of innocent lives. The Cabinet reiterates India's unwavering commitment to a policy of zero tolerance towards terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. The Cabinet also recorded its appreciation for the statements of solidarity and support from many governments around the world. The Cabinet notes with appreciation the timely and coordinated response of the authorities, security agencies, and citizens who acted with courage and compassion in the face of adversity. Their dedication and sense of duty are deeply commendable. The Cabinet directs that the investigation into the incident be pursued with the utmost urgency and professionalism so that the perpetrators, their collaborators, and their sponsors are identified and brought to justice without delay. The situation continues to be closely monitored at the highest levels of the government. The Cabinet reaffirms the government's steadfast resolve to safeguard the lives and well-being of all Indians, consistent with its enduring commitment to national security and the safety of every citizen.
Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited LNJP Hospital in Delhi to meet the victims of the recent car blast incident. During his interaction, he expressed solidarity with the injured and their families and assured that those responsible for the conspiracy would be brought to justice. More in this report.
On Wednesday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, upon returning from Bhutan, made an immediate visit to the Lok Nayak Jayaprakash Hospital in Delhi to meet victims of the recent car blast incident. PM interacted with the victims and their families at the hospital. PM Modi also inquired about their treatment and conveyed his heartfelt prayers for their swift and complete recovery. Expressing deep concern over the incident, Prime Minister reaffirmed the government's commitment to ensuring justice. Meanwhile, in a significant development on Wednesday evening, Faridabad police seized a red Ford EcoSport, suspected to be linked to the prime accused, Dr. Umar Un-Nabi, in the Delhi blast case. The vehicle, discovered parked near Khandavali village, is now under intense security as investigations deepen. Earlier in the day, Delhi police issued a citywide alert across all stations, posts, and border checkposts to locate a red Ford EcoSport. The alert was issued after investigations revealed that other suspects already connected to the Hyundai i20 used in the explosion were also in possession of another red-colored car. The investigation gained momentum after the National Investigation Agency assumed control of the case. NIA teams meticulously inspected the blast site and re-examined vehicles parked near Red Fort at the time of the explosion. Officials questioned vehicle owners to determine the duration of their parking and whether these vehicles played any role in the incident. Security forces in neighboring regions have also escalated their efforts. In Lucknow, the anti-terrorism squad, in collaboration with the Jammu and Kashmir police, seized the car of Dr. Parvez Ansari, who was arrested for his alleged involvement in the blast. This followed a raid on Ansari's residence on Tuesday. In Maharashtra, the ATS conducted a major operation in Mumra Kausa, targeting the home of teacher Ibrahim Abidi. The raid yielded several electronic devices and digital evidence, which are now undergoing detailed technical analysis. During his visit to Bhutan, PM Modi assured in his speech that those responsible will not be spared and will be brought to justice. The explosion, which occurred on Monday near Red Fort, claimed at least 8 lives and left several others injured, sending shockwaves through the capital and across the country. Bureau Report, DD India.
While investigations are underway across Jammu and Kashmir after the bomb blast in Delhi, in a coordinated crackdown, Srinagar police conducted extensive raids across various city areas, targeting terrorist associates and suspected networks linked to banned organizations. Now, the operation, carried out under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, focused on individuals and locations suspected of providing logistical support, funding, and communication aid to terrorist groups. Several suspects have been detained for questioning, and police have seized electronic devices, documents, and incriminating material. Well, India has consistently demonstrated a resolute stance against terrorism, proactively implementing measures to thwart potential threats. Now, recent actions by the nation's security forces have successfully prevented several terror activities, showcasing India's unwavering commitment to safeguarding its citizens and maintaining national security. Now, the most recent incident on November 10th, a joint team of the Jammu and Kashmir and Haryana police recovered over 2,900 kilograms of explosives from Faridabad. The Gujarati anti-terrorism squad arrested 2 youths linked to Pakistan-based terrorists on November 9th. Also on November 7th, the Rajasthan anti-terrorism squad arrested an individual who was in contact with the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. On 27th of October, Delhi police arrested 2 terrorists and dismantled the ISIS-inspired module named Sawt-ul-Umha. Also, a Jaish-e-Mohammed module that was active in 3 states was neutralized on October 13th. The special cell of the Delhi police busted a pan-India terrorist module and arrested 5 suspected terrorists from various states on 11th of September. On 27th of August, the NIA arrested a wanted criminal in the Vizianagaram ISIS module case. In a counter-terror operation in Poonch on 11th of July, the Army and Jammu and Kashmir police conducted a raid on terrorist hideouts. Also, intelligence teams in Hyderabad arrested 2 suspects on May 19th in connection to the Saudi or ISIS-related module. And today is the third and last day of President Droupadi Murmu's historic visit to Botswana. Significantly symbolic handover of 8 cheetahs, formally announced by President Boko on Wednesday, will be done in the presence of President Murmu today. Well, in a significant goodwill gesture, President Boko had announced that Botswana will donate 8 cheetahs to India under the Cheetah Reintroduction Project, reinforcing both nations' commitment to biodiversity conservation and ecological balance. Now, President Murmu expressed profound gratitude, noting that the cheetahs would join the growing population at Khelo National Park. Besides, the President will meet Minister of International Relations of Botswana, Fenio Butale, and Vice President of Botswana, Nabada Nikonisahati Gaulathe. Later, she will attend the Indian community reception before departing from Gaborone Airport. President Murmu arrived for the 3-day state visit to the country on Tuesday. This is the first visit by an Indian president to the country located in southern Africa. Well, the handover of cheetahs will mark a new chapter in India-Botswana cooperation and a major step forward in global wildlife conservation. Take a look at our next report on why was Botswana chosen for this remarkable development.
Botswana was chosen for this next chapter because it, along with Namibia, shelters more than half of the southern Africa's cheetah population, making it vital for ensuring genetic diversity and long-term success of India's reintroduced cheetah population. The mission was a remarkable display of international teamwork. A high-level delegation from Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India, led by Director General of Forest and Special Secretary Sushil Kumar Awasthi, visited Botswana in September 2025. The field team, led by wildlife veterinarians Dr. Eric Vernian of Wild Assist Africa, Botswana, and Dr. Sanat Mulia, nodal veterinarian from Project Cheetah NTCA, working closely with Botswana wildlife officials, expert trackers from private ranchers, and researchers from Cheetah Conservation Botswana. Together, they formed a cohesive unit operating across vast stretches of savanna. Expert veterinarians and wildlife officials from both nations spent weeks tracking, darting, and safely capturing cheetahs from the vast savannas of the Ganzi district. This moment marks more than a conservative milestone. It's a powerful reflection of India and Botswana's shared commitment to wildlife protection and ecological restoration. Together, they are writing a new chapter in the global story of cheetah's return to the wild. Taposh Bhattacharya's report, DD India.
And still to come in DD India Newshour. Trump urges Herzog to pardon Netanyahu amid ongoing corruption trial, calling charges politically motivated. A bus plunges into 200-meter ravine in Peru's Arequipa region, many dead. Rare aurora borealis illuminates the Matterhorn amid powerful G4 geomagnetic storm.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. And moving on, the US House of Representatives passed a spending bill that will end the government shutdown with a 222 to 209 vote. Next, the bill will go to the desk of President Donald Trump, who said he plans to sign it tonight. With Trump's stamp of approval, the longest government shutdown in U.S. history will officially be over. The Senate-passed package will restart disrupted food assistance, pay hundreds of thousands of federal workers, and revive a hobbled air traffic control system. Also, it would extend funding through January 30th, leaving the federal government on a path to keep adding about $1.8 trillion a year to its $38 trillion in debt. The U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson called the recent government shutdown utterly pointless and foolish, accusing the Democrats of using Americans as leverage in a failed political tactic. Johnson welcomed the bipartisan resolution that ended the impasse and advanced appropriation bills to the president's desk, but lamented the damage caused.
I want to say that all this was utterly pointless and foolish. This outcome was totally foreseeable. I said that this would be the outcome when all this began back in mid-September. They did it anyway. Democrats admitted that they used the people as leverage, and they got nothing for their selfish political stunt here. They didn't achieve anything with this at all.
Well, House Democrats on Wednesday released emails that they said raised new questions about President Donald Trump's ties to Jeffrey Epstein and how much he knew about his abuse of underage girls, while the swearing-in of a new Democrat kicked off a new fight in Congress over further disclosures. The Democrats released messages between Epstein and author Michael Wolff and Ghislaine Maxwell, a British socialite who was serving a 20-year prison sentence on charges related to her role in facilitating Epstein's sex trafficking. In one 2019 email to Wolff, the sex offender wrote that Trump knew about the girls, though it was not clear what that phrase meant. And Israeli President Isaac Herzog has received a letter from U.S. President Donald Trump urging him to consider granting a pardon to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Wednesday. Netanyahu has been facing a long-running corruption trial, and Trump has repeatedly asked for a pardon for his close ally. Netanyahu denies the charges and has pleaded not guilty. Trump expressed support for Netanyahu, calling the legal case against him politically motivated and unjustified, while also emphasizing his respect for Israel's justice system. Meanwhile, Herzog's office said that anyone seeking a presidential pardon must submit a formal request in accordance with the established procedures. Also, Netanyahu thanked Trump for his support and expressed eagerness to continue working with him on security and peace initiatives. And British Prime Minister Keir Starmer distanced himself on Wednesday from a briefing by unnamed allies that he would fight any leadership bid, throwing his support behind his Health Minister, Wes Streeting, who had been named as the challenger. Earlier, Health Minister Wes Streeting said that he was not going to demand Starmer's resignation, adding, "I support the Prime Minister. I have done since he was elected leader of the Labour Party." Also, the Health Minister's denial followed anonymous briefings by Starmer allies who told journalists he would fight any bid to replace him. Starmer told Parliament that attacks on any of his cabinet ministers were completely unacceptable and said Streeting was doing a great job. And in Peru's Arequipa region, at least 37 people were killed and dozens were injured after a bus plunged into a 200-meter deep ravine on Wednesday. The accident occurred when the bus collided with a van and veered off the highway connecting the coastal town of Chala to Arequipa. Among the injured were an 8-month-old baby and 2 other children, with 26 people receiving medical treatments, 3 in serious conditions. Authorities recovered 36 bodies from the ravine and confirmed another death at a local health center. The Peruvian presidency expressed condolences and said it had mobilized medical support for the injured. Peru has seen a series of deadly bus accidents in recent years, often attributed to poor road conditions and vehicle maintenance in mountainous regions. And Mexico's National Autonomous University opened a large-scale vaccination center at the Olympic Stadium to bolster protection against seasonal illnesses and prevent outbreaks of diseases. The campaign, running until Friday, offers 4 vaccines, including influenza and pneumococcal shots as well as boosters for measles, rubella and mumps. Thousands of people were seen lined up outside the Olympic Stadium waiting to be vaccinated. The effort, supported by federal and local health agencies, aims to administer 100,000 doses over several days. So far, more than 10,500 people have been vaccinated and over 27,000 doses applied. Health authorities from the Pan-American Health Organization reported that measles transmission continues in Mexico, which has accounted for 23 of the 28 regional measles-related deaths. And Iraq's incumbent Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani claimed victory for his coalition on Wednesday in general elections after preliminary results showed it had secured a decisive lead. Supporters of Sudani, who's vying for a second term, took to the streets to collaborate with fireworks and music. Sudani described the election victory as a win for all Iraqis and congratulated the nation on his coalition's first place result. As per the Electoral Commission, preliminary results showed Sudani's candidate list leading with more than 1.3 million votes, while vote counts for each list by province were released. Seat allocations in parliament will not be pronounced until later. The commission reported that over 12 million or 21 million eligible voters participated, despite cleric Muqtada Sadr urging a boycott. And the Spanish Prosecutor General denied leaking confidential information in a tax fraud case involving an opposition figure's partner during a historical trial before the Supreme Court on Wednesday. The case of Alvaro Garcia Ortiz underscores the conflict between Spain's minority leftist government and Madrid's conservative leader Isabel Díaz Ayuso. Ortiz is accused of leaking emails in March 2024 concerning a tax fraud case involving Ayuso's boyfriend. The leaked messages suggested that the lawyer had advised his client to admit two tax fraud charges in return for a negotiated deal to prevent imprisonment. Ortiz has denied any involvement in leaking the information during his testimony in the two-week hearings. The prosecutor seeks Garcia Ortiz's acquittal, while plaintiffs, including Gonzalez, Amador and Vox, demand up to 6 years in prison. The trial is set to conclude on Thursday, with a ruling to follow. And Tanzanian opposition leader Tundu Lissu will remain in custody after his treason trial was adjourned indefinitely on Wednesday, following his objection to an anonymous prosecution witness. Lissu arrived at the High Court showing support for his backers and filed 7 legal challenges against the use of the concealed witness booth, arguing it violated Tanzania's witness protection regulations. Chadema leader John H. described the case as politically motivated and fabricated. The court granted an adjournment after lead prosecutor Nasoro Katuga requested more time due to the case's complex domestic and international legal issues. Lissu faces treason charges linked to an April 3 press statement and was arrested on April 9th. And leader of Turkey's main opposition, Republican People's Party, Özgür Özel, held his weekly rally in Istanbul on Wednesday. At his rally, Özel called the indictment against jailed Istanbul Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu and others baseless and a bill of slander. He urged the trial to be broadcast live to show it is a hoax. Özel accused Erdogan's AK party of using the case against Mayor İmamoğlu for political purposes to weaken the Republican People's Party. A prosecutor is seeking over 2,000 years in prison for İmamoğlu, who denies the charges as part of an indictment naming 402 suspects accused of forming a criminal organization, bribery, fraud and bid rigging. Well, the death toll from the sinking of a boat carrying Rohingya refugees off Malaysia's Langkawi Island has risen to 29 after rescue efforts and teams recovered 2 more bodies on Wednesday. The Malaysian Maritime Enforcement Agency said both victims were male and their remains have been handed over to the authorities. The vessel carrying members of Myanmar's persecuted Rohingya Muslim minorities sank near the Malaysia-Thailand maritime border over the weekend. And Indigenous leaders from different regions of Brazil and government authorities took part in the official opening of the People's Summit, a parallel event to COP30 that brings together social movements, environmental organizations and traditional communities in Belem. Well, the ceremony aims to highlight the importance of the voices of people of the forest and to ensure that their demands are at the center of discussions on the climate crisis. The summit begins the day after Indigenous demonstrators and their supporters breached security barriers at the main entrance to the conference hall in Belem and scuffled with security officers there. And global oil and gas demand could continue growing until mid-century, the International Energy Agency said on Wednesday, marking a sharp departure from earlier forecast of a rapid transition to cleaner fuels. The Paris-based watchdog also warned the world is unlikely to meet its climate goal of limiting temperature rise to 1.5 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial levels. The shift comes amid U.S. criticism of the IEA's climate focus. In its World Energy Outlook, the IEA projected oil demand could reach 113 million barrels per day by the year 2050. Under current policies, about 13% higher than 2024 levels. The report also highlighted surging investment in liquefied natural gas, with new projects set to boost global export capacity by 50% by the year 2030. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. German Heart Center at Cherait has established one of Europe's largest programs for robot-assisted heart surgery using the Da Vinci system. The DHZC is preparing for future technological advances with this program and is expected to be launched next year. A rare aurora borealis display has been captured over the Matterhorn, creating stunning images of the iconic mountain under a vibrant, colorful sky. According to the local media report, the rare northern Earths seen across Europe were caused by a G4 geomagnetic storm. An American Museum of Natural History's newest exhibit takes visitors on a journey back in time from when an asteroid wiped out the dinosaurs of the period of renewal that followed. The titled Impact: The End of the Age of Dinosaurs is on display at the American Museum of Natural History in New York City. And still to come on DD India Newshour. Government rationalizes royalty rates for critical minerals to boost domestic production and cut import dependence. Bihar Assembly elections record historic 66.9% voter turnout. Women led with 71.6% participation, counting on the 14th of November. And India's first solar-on-track project launched by NCRTC at Dubai to power green mobility.
Always welcoming. The vibe of Punjab is larger than life. Warm up to grandeur that's beyond compare. And history that's dotted with tales of bravery. Smiling soul of India, where music, art, cuisine and culture comes together to create an unforgettable impression. Punjab is all set to win your hearts with its unique and colorful extravaganza.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Union Cabinet condemns the Delhi blast as a heinous terror act. The centre directs a swift probe into the incident. On final day of Botswana visit, President Murmu to witness symbolic handover as Botswana gives India 8 cheetahs. US House approves a spending bill of 222 to 209 to end the shutdown. 6 Democrats support measure as President Trump is set to sign. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar says international cooperation vital for rare minerals. India ready to work constructively with global partners. And moving on, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar today participated in G7 FMM outreach session on energy security and critical minerals and put forth India's perspective. He spoke about the need on both sides to mitigate dependence, strengthen predictability and build resilience, asserting that greater international cooperation is the only way forward. Jaishankar noted the unpredictability and market constrictions in global supply, saying more policy consultations and coordination are helpful. He added that the key, however, is to translate that on the ground. The minister stressed that India is open to working constructively with international partners in this regard. An External Affairs Minister also attended the G7 FMM outreach session on maritime security and prosperity. He underlined India's approach to maritime security through Mahasagar Outlook, Indo-Pacific cooperation and port-led development at home. In his remarks shared on X, he highlighted the imperative of trusted and diversified maritime links and India's efforts in upgrading its shipping infrastructure and developing resilient corridors. Jaishankar further highlighted the need for better coordination in protecting critical maritime and undersea infrastructure, maritime threats and economic crimes, including piracy, smuggling and IUU fishing, merit deeper international collaboration. He mentioned India's emergence as a first responder in the maritime domain and the endeavour to deepen HADR partnerships in Indo-Pacific through joint exercises and logistic agreement, and the importance of maritime trade to national and international prosperity in a globalizing world. He noted the central role of resilient ports and secure waterways in securing a collective agenda and highlighted that the UNCLOS must be upheld. Well, a crucial diplomatic outreach unfolded today at the G7 Foreign Ministers meeting in Niagara, Canada, where India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar held a significant meeting with Canadian Foreign Minister Anita Anand. The discussions centered on rebuilding trust and advancing the India-Canada roadmap came at a pivotal moment for both the countries. Reporting from Niagara, here is Tarun Paul with the latest.
Meeting global challenges requires global partnerships. The issues we are facing transcend the G7 and our borders. And this is why it is absolutely vital that we have diverse geographic representation around the table. So let's get started. Thank you. Merci.
The majestic Niagara region of Ontario set the stage of high-stakes diplomatic gathering as Canada hosted the G7 Foreign Minister meeting. India was invited as an outreach partner, a clear recognition of its growing global influence and commitment to lending a voice to the global south. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar agenda was packed. He arrived in Niagara on 11 November at the invitation of his Canadian counterpart Anita Anand to join the deliberations with the G7 and outreach nations. India's focus, working with partners to address global challenges while representing the aspiration of developing countries. On the sidelines of the summit, Jaishankar met Canadian Foreign Minister Anita Anand for their third meeting this year. The two ministers reviewed progress under the Canada-India Joint Roadmap, a framework aimed at deepening cooperation in energy, trade and people-to-people ties. They also discussed the ongoing law enforcement dialogue between the two countries. Anand offered heartfelt condolences for those killed in recent blast in New Delhi and reiterated that Canada stands with the people of India during this tragic time. Both sides agreed to keep up the momentum and continue implementing the roadmap. In a social media post after the meeting, Jaishankar congratulated his host on successfully organizing the summit and expressed satisfaction at the roadmap's progress, adding that he looked forward to further rebuilding the bilateral partnership. Canada's foreign minister echoes those sentiments, noting that India, now world's fourth largest economy, has been a key partner for more than 75 years. Jaishankar's diplomacy went beyond Canada. He held a series of bilateral meetings with ministers from South Africa, Mexico, Germany, France and Brazil, and the Premier of Saskatchewan, exploring cooperation in trade, health, food security, clean energy and technology. These engagements underscore of India's determination to build partnerships across the world and to ensure that voices from the global south are heard. From Niagara, this is Tarun Paul from Daily India.
While seeking to reduce import dependency and vulnerabilities in the supply chain of critical minerals, the government on Wednesday approved the rationalization of royalty rates of graphite, cesium, rubidium and zirconium. Now, under the revised structure, the royalty for graphite will now be calculated on an ad valorem basis instead of per ton basis, meaning it will be charged as a percentage of the average sale price instead of the fixed amount per ton.
कुछ क्रिटिकल मिनरल्स देश में ऐसे हैं अवेलेबल जिनके रॉयल्टी के स्ट्रक्चर को चेंज करने की ज़रूरत थी. बहुत ज़्यादा हाई रॉयल्टी इम्पोज करके रखी हुई थी, उनको रिड्यूस किया गया. पहला है ग्रेफाइट, दूसरा है जिरकोनियम, तीसरा है रुबिडियम और चौथा है सीजियम. कि इनके ऊपर जो रॉयल्टी है वो रिड्यूस की जाएगी जिससे कि इनका प्रोडक्शन बढ़े. और ये सारे के सारे ऐसे एलिमेंट्स हैं जिसका देश में बहुत उपयोग है, खासकर इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल इंडस्ट्री, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इंडस्ट्री और स्ट्रैटेजिक सेक्टर्स में, सब में इनका बहुत उपयोग है.
Well, for graphite containing 80% or more fixed carbon, the royalty will be 2% of the average sale price, while lower grade graphite will attract 4%. The royalty rate for zirconium has been fixed at 1% and 2% for rubidium and cesium each. The Cabinet has approved amendments to the second schedule of the Mines and Minerals. Mines and Mineral Development and Regulation Act 1957 is to bring in these changes. The new rates aim to give greater clarity to companies planning to bid for critical mineral blocks in upcoming auctions. All of these elements are used a lot in India, especially in the electric vehicle industry, electronic manufacturing industry and strategic sectors. Increase in indigenous production of these maritime minerals would lead to reduction in imports and supply chain vulnerabilities and also generate employment opportunities in the country. And in another significant decision, the union government also approved an export promotion mission with an outlay of $2.506 billion for 6 financial years beginning this fiscal. Ashwini Vaishnaw said it is a very comprehensive mission and it will support the complete export ecosystem. He added that the decision will help exporters deal with high tariffs imposed by the US. Under the mission, priority support will be extended by sectors impacted by recent global tariff escalations, such as textiles, leathers, gems and jewelry, engineering goods and marine products. The measure will help insulate domestic exporters from the high tariffs imposed by the US on Indian goods. The US has imposed a hefty 50% tariff on Indian goods starting 27th of August. Well, polling in Bihar Assembly elections has concluded with a historic highest ever voter turnout of 66.91%. Polling for all 243 Assembly constituencies in Bihar was held in 2 phases on the 6th and 11th of November. The counting of votes for over 2,600 candidates will take place on the 14th of November. The elections witnessed a record voter turnout since 1951 with around 67% participation across both phases, which is about 10% higher than in 2020. The first phase registered over 65% polling, while the second phase recorded around 69% of voting. Bihar recorded its highest ever female voter turnout at 71.6%, while male voter turnout was 62.8%. The Election Commission of India said that scrutiny of documents in all 122 Assembly constituencies in Phase 2 was completed smoothly in the presence of returning officers, general observers and candidates or their representatives. No discrepancies or malpractices were found, leading to a historic outcome of 0 repolls, a first for Bihar in recent decades. And for more, we have Gautam Roy joining us from Patna. Well, Gautam, this has been a record-breaking voter turnout for Bihar, over 66%, including both the phases. What factors do you see on the ground, do you think, contributed to such an enthusiastic participation, especially among the women voters?
Well, yes, that is indeed the biggest point really of these elections. In fact, the final figure apparently which has been put out, revised by the Election Commission, takes the polling beyond 67%, if I remember correctly, 67.13%. The data that you mentioned for women is the biggest talking point as well. 71.6% of the women have voted. So that just tells you women who constitute about, well, less than half, about 47% of the electorate, came out in much larger number to express their mandate, and that is the biggest takeaway. The other, of course, being the exit polls, which almost perhaps in unanimity give a majority which will ensure that Nitish Kumar, as the longest-serving Chief Minister of Bihar for almost 2 decades with just a 9-month break, will be returning as Chief Minister again if things go as according to the exit polls, some of them even taking the maximum range to beyond the 2/3 mark for the NDA. So that is quite significant. But of course, the Mahagathbandhan sees it quite differently. They feel that this nearly 10% jump in voter turnout, which is unprecedented, will be a mandate for change. So again, a lot is really built up in terms of anticipation as to which way will this increased mandate really take the people of Bihar in the next coming 5 years, and those are the most talked about points here. And people of Bihar have always been very, very sensitized politically. They know each and every issue that is relevant to them. They talk about it very, very openly as well. And it just seems that this factor, apart from the fact that the festival of Chhath, which brings a lot of people who have migrated to different parts of the country back home, the election was very close to that particular festival soon after Diwali, and they perhaps extended their stay, and those are some of the factors which have contributed to this heightened turnout that we have seen in overall in the elections.
All right, all eyes for tomorrow on the counting day. Thank you so much, Gautam, for all those details. And moving on, Southern Army Commander Lieutenant General Dheeraj Seth reviewed the operational preparedness of the Konark Corps, a key formation of the Southern Command during exercise Akhand Prahar, which is being part of the Tri-Services exercise Trishul. The Lieutenant General witnessed combined arms maneuvers showcasing inter-service coordination, refinement of tactics, techniques and procedures, and the employment of next-generation battlefield technologies, including drones and counter-drone systems. Akhand Prahar aimed to validate the Indian Army's capability to conduct integrated multi-domain operations in synergy with the Indian Air Force. Now, the exercise reaffirmed the Corps' transformation into a modern, agile and networked force, future-ready for multi-domain, high-tempo operations. And the National Capital Region Transport Corporation has launched India's first solar on-track project at the Namo Bharat depot in Duhai, installing solar panels directly on the tracks. Now, the 70-meter pilot system will generate 17,500 kilowatt-hours of energy annually, reducing 16 tons of carbon dioxide emissions. NCRTC's goal is to meet 70% of its energy needs from renewable sources. And still to come on DD India Newshour. Global markets steady as US ends record shutdown. Investors eye economic data for rate clues. And Indian Grandmasters Arjun Arigasi and Ramesh Babu Pragananda move into the 4th round tie break at the Fight World Cup in Goa. And Adelaide holds 93rd annual Christmas Pageant parade.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, update just coming in on the top story we were tracking here at DD India. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has strongly condemned the Delhi bomb blast, describing it as a clear act of terrorism. He expressed solidarity with India following his meeting with External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on the sidelines of the G7 foreign ministers meeting in Canada. Rubio praised India's handling of the Delhi car blast investigation, describing it as measured and professional. Rubio added that while the United States had offered assistance, Indian authorities were managing the probe efficiently and independently.
It clearly was a terrorist attack, and it was a car loaded with highly explosive materials that detonated and killed a lot of people. But I think they're doing a very good job of carrying out an investigation, and I think when they have facts, they'll release those facts. So, but clearly, I mean, we're aware of the potential that it has, and so we spoke about that a little bit today, the potential that it has to become something broader. But I think we're going to wait to see what their investigation reveals. We've offered to help, but I think they're very capable in these investigations. They don't need our help, and they're doing a good job.
And now on to some markets update. Stocks and gold paused for breath on Thursday as the US Congress voted to end the longest government shutdown on record, with markets waiting for the resumption of US economic data to gauge the rates outlook. In the US, the Dow Jones hit a record high. Gold rose above $4,200 an ounce, and government bonds gained slightly. In Asia, Japan's Nikkei rose 0.5% and the Topix nearly 1% as investors moved away from AI stocks to invest in other parts of the economy. However, the yen fell to a record low of 179.49 per euro, pressured by the central bank's slower rate plans. In Australia, the Australian dollar rose slightly after strong employment data. Minerals like lithium and gold also gained. In Europe, the pan-European stocks 600 climbed, and London's FTSE 100 index and Italy's FTSE MIB recorded multi-year highs. And you're watching DD India News. Our time now for some sports news. Indian Grandmasters Arjun Erigaisi, Ramesh Babu Pragananda and Pentala Harikrishna have moved into the fourth round tie-break at the Fight World Cup in Goa. Erigaisi accepted a draw against the experienced Grandmaster Peter Leko of Hungary. Pragananda split the point against Grandmaster Daniel Dubov, and Harikrishna also drew against Nils Grandelius of Sweden. Among the five Indians in fray in the fourth round, all eyes were on Erigaisi and Pragananda. Meanwhile, Pranav Venkatesh and Karthik Venkataraman were knocked out of the tournament. They were beaten by stronger rivals Noderbek Yakubev of Uzbekistan and Lee Kwong Lam of Vietnam, respectively. And organizers unveiled the schedule for the 2028 Los Angeles Olympic Games with spotlight on the women's 100-meter competition and a Super Saturday session. The competition starts with the opening ceremony on 14th of July and ends with the closing ceremony on the 30th of July. The biggest ever games will feature 11,200 athletes in 51 sports across 49 venues. Every team sport will feature an equal or greater number of women team for the first time, with 50.5% of total athletes being women. On day one, the most number of women's finals ever will be contested, starting with triathlon, with a spotlight on the women's 100-meter competition. It means that women athletes must run 300-meter heats in one day. A Super Saturday scheduled on 29th of July included 26 final sessions in 23 sports, including 15 golds and bronze medal team matches and finals in 15 individual sports. American flag football and squash will make Olympic debuts on 15th of July. Cricket rejoins Olympic after more than a century, with the women final on 20th of July and the men's final on 29th of July. Baseball and softball will also return to the Olympic Games. And India's shuttlers HS Pranoy and Lakshya Sen advanced to the pre-quarter-finals of the Kumamoto Masters Japan Badminton Tournament after registering contrasting wins in the first round matches. Pranoy battled past Malaysia's Jun Hao Leong 16-21, 21-13, 23-21 in a thriller. The 33-year-old Indian badminton player showed glimpses of his best to outlast his higher-ranked opponent. After conceding the first game, Pranoy shifted gears in the second to level the contest. He held his nerve to clinch the match, serving 2 match points along the way. Meanwhile, Paris Olympic semi-finalist Lakshya Sen enjoyed a far smoother outing. He eased past Japan's Koki Watanabe 21-12, 21-16 to set up a round of 16 clash with Singapore's Jia Heng Jason Tay. And the official logo, mascots, torch, jerseys and anthem for the 5th Khelo Inter-University Games in Rajasthan were unveiled in Jaipur on Wednesday, organised by the Sports Authority of India in collaboration with the Government of Rajasthan. The event marked the countdown to India's premier university sports competition. Chief Minister Bhajanlal Sharma unveiled the mascots Kama and Ghani, inspired by the camel, Rajasthan's state animal, and the greeting Kama Ghani, symbolizing the state's warmth and hospitality. The Khelo Inter-University Games Rajasthan 2025 will be held from 24th of November to 5th of December across 7 cities: Jaipur, Udaipur, Jodhpur, Kota, Ajmer, Bharatpur and Bikaner. Over 7,000 athletes from nearly 200 universities will compete in 24 sports. And world number 1, Yannick Sinner, reached the last 4 of the ATP Finals on Wednesday after beating Alexander Zverev 6-4, 6-3 with a match to spare. Sinner bets to retain his number 1 title at the prestigious end of the season tournament. The 24-year-old was not at his best and struggled with a hand problem at the start of the match, but still had more than enough to see off Zverev for the 5th straight time. Zverev hasn't beaten Sinner since the 2023 US Open, being destroyed by the Italian in the semi-finals of the recent Paris Masters. Sinner will take on Ben Shelton, aiming to top the group. And in Australia, more than 330,000 people lined the streets of Adelaide for the much-loved annual Christmas pageant. Celebrating its 93rd anniversary, families came from far and wide to celebrate and share the Christmas spirit. Take a look. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lepakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.